Okay, Lori, go for it.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I am Lori Davidson. I'm the Executive Director of the Missoula Housing Authority, and I really want to welcome you to the opening of our newest development, Cornerstone Apartments. It's great to see all of you here. Of course, I have to flip through the screens to see everyone. So I might be doing that so I can see everyone who's here. This is a great turnout, and I'm really pleased to see you all. I wish we could be doing it on site, but I'm trying to give you the feel of what the site looks like here, and you'll get to see a little bit more of it when we get into the tour part of our program. So just to tell you a little bit about Cornerstone, these are 12 spacious, comfortable homes that'll provide a new beginning for some of our communities most in need. They're housing first homes with low admissions and occupancy barriers, and services brought to the residents as they choose. Applicants will be referred to the project through the City of Missoula's coordinated entry system. It's been a long time dream of the Housing Authority to bring a project like this to reality. And it's involved many partners and more than 2 years. You'll hear from some of our partners today. It's built on land that was already owned by the Housing Authority. Another project, Valor House, is on the front half of the lot, and Cornerstone was built on the back half. We wanted to give each project its own identity and some privacy, but also allow interaction between the residents of the projects if they choose to interact with each other. Our funding sources started with a Housing Trust Fund grant from the state, which was our major funder, over $900,000, almost $1 million from them, and we'll hear from them later today. We have an AHP grant, an Affordable Housing Program grant through the Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines, and MHA put a good deal, over $500,000 of its own development funds to bring this project to fruition. But it's not just the upfront construction costs that we have to cover when we're building a project like this. It's also the operating costs. We're serving extremely low-income residents, and they're not able to pay a lot of rent. So we placed 12 project-based vouchers into these homes to subsidize the rents, and that will allow us to maintain the operations of the project over the long term. And no project like this is possible without the strong support of our Board of Commissioners. And they've been essential for the success that we see of this project today. I really want to especially recognize the support of our board chair, Colin Bangs. He's been an advocate of this, of MHA being involved in a project of this type for many, many years, much longer than the 2 or 3 years that we've been spent on this project. So I want to introduce you to Colin and invite him to say a few words now. Right there you are, Colin.
Here I am, yes. Hello, I'm very happy to be here today to share in the celebration of the completion of the Cornerstone building. As Lori says, I've been waiting for this day, looking forward to this day for many, many years. It was 9 or 10 years ago that Adam Ragsdale and Keithy Worthington and myself went to New Orleans to attend the Housing First, the National Housing First conference. And we were blown away by what we learned there, that people were able, organizations such as the Housing Authority were able to take the most chronic of the chronic homeless and get them off of the streets and get them into the safe and comfortable housing and with the services they needed. And they were having incredible success rates. Virtually, what they were saying is that almost nobody goes back to the streets after they've been into the successful housing and with the support services they need. And our hearts were touched by the personal stories we heard. People have been homeless for years, went through the program, came out successfully, moved out, got good jobs, found their own housing, some of them even buying their own housing, and they were there to tell us their stories. So we were very excited. Came back gave the presentation to the board and the staff and said, we want to do this. And we put it on our to-do list. And then we started working on doing it and discovered that in reality, what was happening is that almost every place that this was happening had financing available from the state, which was not available from the state at that time. So it went from our to-do list to our wish list, and we kept talking about it, looking for possibilities. And now finally it has all come together. All the financing pieces and all of the services are here. We have this wonderful, beautiful project built. And granted, 12 units does not solve the chronic homeless problem in Missoula, but it's the first step. And we have to remember that all great journeys begin with the first step. And this is a beautiful first step. And I'm really looking forward to using what we've learned up to this point and moving on to the next step and the next step until we truly have solved the chronic homeless problem in Missoula. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colin. You have indeed been our strongest supporter and advocate for this type of housing in Missoula. So just as we went out to bid on Cornerstone, construction costs in the city spiked. And the project bids came in not just thousands of dollars, but hundreds of thousands of dollars over the project budget. That meant we had to do some serious value engineering with the lowest bidder and bring in additional sources of funding. Our contractor, Edgel Building, and the architects, Colin Lane, Claire Pepper, and Shane Morrissey at MMW, worked for 3 months to find ways to reduce the costs here without sacrificing the quality that we expect in all of our projects. We secured a small, very low interest loan from the Montana Board of Housing. MHA put in some additional funds of our own. And then we received unexpectedly a call that brought in additional funds that allowed us to keep our very efficient heating and cooling system as it was designed by MMW, rather than putting it on that value engineering chopping block. So Cornerstone became the pilot project for a new carbon offset program through a collaboration with Climate Smart Missoula and Clearwater Credit Union. We are so pleased to be the kicking off point for this new program. And to explain more about it, please welcome Amy Sillenberg from Climate Smart Missoula and Paul Herndon from Clearwater Credit Union, who will tell you a little bit about this fantastic new project. Amy?
Great, thank you so much, Lori. Let's see, so yeah, we're really excited. This project is unique in so many ways, but this adds something new to Missoula. So our community has these goals supporting affordable housing, environmental sustainability, climate, and equity. And at times these commitments may seem at odds or simply challenging to pursue concurrently, especially when, as Lori just said, funds are tight. So this Cornerstone project demonstrates that with collaboration, creativity, and persistence, we can marry these. So it's at Climate Smart, we work, our sort of mission is to decrease our collective carbon footprint, our contribution to climate change. And to that end, over the past year, we've been establishing this local carbon offset program that we're calling Missoula's Footprint Fund. It can be a little bit difficult to explain, but bear with us a bit. So a carbon offset is just simply a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions in one place to compensate for emissions somewhere else. They're used across the US and the world where entities want to lower their environmental impact, but cannot do enough either on site or within their own operations. So instead, they're able to financially support pollution reductions elsewhere. And this is precisely how this footprint fund works. And in this context, that somewhere else is actually right here. So as Paul Herndon from Clearwater Credit Union will describe next, the carbon offsets they purchased helped to bridge the funding gap, allowing for energy efficiency measures to be kept in the plans and in turn installed in this Missoula Housing Authority apartment complex. So what's unique here is the ability to purchase a local carbon offset and in turn helping our community meet the priorities of high quality housing for those in need and simultaneously address climate change. So with this proof of concept project, we're officially launching our footprint fund. And our hope is that moving forward, we can pair more development and building projects with the environmental and climate commitments that businesses, organizations, local government, or even individuals have made or are potentially willing to make. So I'll pass the mic to Paul and also mention that we have this project, this Cornerstone project, and the Footprint Fund described in detail at a new website, and it's missoulafootprintfund.org. So there'll be opportunities to learn more about this whole project via missoulafootprintfund.org after today's call. So with that, I'll hand it over to Paul.
Great. Thank you, Amy. Great to see so many people here. First of all, let me just say congratulations to the MHA on this project. It's a terrific project, really addressing the needs of some of the most vulnerable members of our community. And it's really great to see this open up. So terrific work. We played a small role in this, which I'll describe, but the bulk of the congratulations certainly go to the MHA. So briefly, the background here at Clearwater, we are committed to reducing our environmental impact as much as possible. We actually had a goal of being carbon neutral by the end of this year. We've been monitoring our greenhouse gas emissions for several years. We're doing everything we can to really drive down our direct emissions, but we knew we weren't going to get to that goal of zero without purchasing some offsets. We consider those kind of a stopgap measure while we continue to drive down our emissions, but it's an important way to try and reach those goals. As we started looking for offsets, there's a lot available. It's a robust market, but they're all over the country, if not all over the world. And we were really looking for a way to spend this money locally and help build climate resilience in our community as well. And what really made this whole project come together was just community partnerships. We've been involved in the affordable housing world for a long time and have gotten to know the MHA that way. We've been supporters of Climate Smart, and I should say I am on the board there as well. And we had just completed a project with MMW Architects. They designed a new branch of ours down on Brook Street, which is going to be LEED Silver certified, and we're hoping is going to be net zero. So through some of these conversations, we learned about the Cornerstone project. And this is what always happens in construction projects. You design this really cool building, and then it's come time to do the VE, and you go through and you make the hard decisions about what you have to take out. You know, MHA didn't want to take out these heat pumps. MMW didn't want to take out these heat pumps. So we started trying to think of a way to put these pieces together. Essentially, the way the project works is that there were going to be, initially there were going to be high efficiency heat pumps to heat the units. Those had to get VE'd out because of the construction costs and replaced with less expensive electric resistance heat. So what we were able to work out is Clearwater came in and partially funded the additional cost to put in those more efficient units in exchange for the rights to the energy reductions. So over the life of this system, it's going to generate something on the order of 900 tons of avoided greenhouse gas emissions, which is going to be enough to offset Clearwater's emissions for about 2 years. So it was really a win-win. It's going to actually save the operations cost of this project well over $100,000 over the lifetime too. So we were able to offset our emissions. The MHA is going to save money from avoided electricity purchases, and we were able to provide a little additional funding for this project. It was really just the high level of collaboration and trust between these partners that made this happen. So we're really excited to be part of the community and work with so many great people to be able to do this. As Amy said, going forward, the hope of Climate Smart is to find more of these projects. This was one project, we're one organization, 2 years, right? And there's a lot more demand, we think, out there for these locally sourced carbon offset projects. So we're really hoping that this pilot will demonstrate that this approach works and that we'll be able to find more of these into the future. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end here, but for now, I will stop at that and turn it over to the video tour.
Yes, so we have well, I do want to say that, as Paul mentioned, when I was plugging the numbers into our operating pro forma, the difference between keeping our efficient heat pumps and having to go to the less efficient, cheaper to install system, it saved almost $10,000 a year in operating costs. So in a project this size, that is extremely significant. We are so pleased that we were able to help Climate Smart and Clearwater Credit Union, and we are so grateful for their support and their help as well. And with that, I will turn it over to lead architect at MMW, Colin Lane, and you're actually going to see the project now. So over to you, Colin.
Thanks, Lori. And as we get that started, I just want to say that MMW Architects has a long history of working in the Missoula community. We really value our community's efforts towards resolving the long-term homelessness crisis that our community is facing. And as Colin Bangs was saying, this is an important step in that direction. Following the Housing First model is a key component to the 10-year plan to end homelessness. And we really value all of our community's efforts, but this one is a great step, a great piece in that overall picture. We also have a long history of working as hard as we can to help better our environment and working towards some innovative, sustainable things. A lot of the folks here on this call are familiar with us and our work, so I won't go into that too much. But as we began this project, we, Shane Morrissey and Claire Pepper and I in our office, we started to work towards a picture of what our carbon footprint for this project really was. So we've spent a lot of time talking about this one decision we made around the mechanical system, but really we were looking at our whole footprint. And as architects, we are involved in a lot of construction projects. So there are a lot of things that we do that impact our climate very significantly. So Amy, if you want to flip a slide, we can start looking at the process a little bit. So this is kind of the summary of what we're looking at. Amy, if you go to the next slide, we can start to see some of the construction. And as the building came together, one of the first things that you'll see here is that we built this building with a crawl space. So there is a foundation wall around the perimeter, but it is not a concrete slab on grade. And concrete is one of the more impactful materials that we can use that negatively impact our environment. The carbon footprint in making concrete is huge. It accounts for 8% of the global emissions. So that is significant. The more you can reduce concrete, the better. If you want to go to the next slide, Amy. So while we're just looking at pictures here, the Valor House is right in front of us. And of course, the construction of the Cornerstone is right behind that. Next slide. So we ran into this big problem. So we had made a bunch of decisions around the carbon footprint, but the biggest one by far was the mechanical system. And that was fully on the chopping block. We had fully value engineered that out of the project. We had another design in hand, and we were all bummed. As Lori said, the annual operating costs were on the order of $10,000 a year that the Housing Authority was going to be on the hook for. But we flat out just needed to think about that first cost. And the savings that would have come with reducing our mechanical system was significant, and we couldn't say no to that. It bummed us out, but we couldn't say no. And so that was the perfect time where Climate Smart and Clearwater Credit Union came to the table with a new idea, and it worked out really well. If you can go to the next slide, Amy. So I'll talk about some of the design features of the building. So here we're seeing it as it's up in the air this spring. We made sure to design as much privacy into this project as we could. So private balconies, everybody has their own private front door. And when you're coming off of a situation of homelessness and crisis, you may be coming from a place of communal living like the POV, privacy and individuality is huge, can't be underestimated. So all of these are townhome style units. They're all one bedroom. They're all in the range of about 700 square feet. And there are 12 in total, and there's a ground floor unit and an upper floor unit all the way down. So everybody's got windows on at least 2 sides of the building, and gives folks a lot of privacy with that townhome style. You can go ahead to the next slide. And the next slide. So as I mentioned, that $10,000 a year in savings wouldn't have been possible without this partnership. It's been really impressive to see all of the players in the Missoula community come together to support this kind of project. And we look forward to using this same methodology on other projects and seeing other folks in the development community proceed ahead with this as well, this kind of strategy. Go to the next slide. So here we are looking at the mechanical system that we've been talking about. It looks pretty simple, but the technology is pretty cool. It's an air-based heat pump, so it's pulling the heat out of the air in winter, and really the only utility costs are associated with the pumps to do that. So you're literally pulling the heat out of the air. You're really just paying the electricity cost of running the pumps and the fans of the system. So it's highly efficient, maybe 3 or 4 times as efficient as just an electric baseboard system. We've done similar types of systems on other projects, and we find they work really well. Everybody's got their own thermostat, so it's comfortable, which is another great thing for folks who are coming from homelessness, is to have some comfort like that. Go to the next slide. Here's some shots inside the unit. So this is the upper level. There's a great island kitchen here, space for dining and living in the foreground, and in the background there's a bathroom and a bedroom. So these are really nicely laid out units. The common thing I hear when we're walking through these things is, gosh, I would want to live here. So it's really great to hear that these are going to be some really welcome units for folks coming off of the streets. Next slide. Oh, and we put these yellow doors on. The architectural design of the facility is fairly modern and clean, but we really wanted to put a pop of color and some warmth and a sense of welcome for folks. So these front doors are really noticeable, and the unit numbers are large, and just really gives everybody a sense of identity. And with that, I'm nearing the end. So I don't know if John has a few minutes, but I'm happy to cut myself off here.
Thank you so much, Colin. We'll just run some slides here. There is contact information at the bottom of each slide that will tell you how to contact the Housing Authority if you have questions, or for applications coming through CES, or people who have questions about that. I can direct you to the right place. So as we go through here, you'll see each of the project partners on this call who are available for you to answer any questions later on after the call is over. If the mayor is still on, and I can't tell that, I do want to say welcome to the mayor and to Erin, who is the new Development Services Director for the city. And we're honored to have them with us today. So Mr. Mayor, if you're still on and you have a minute, we'd welcome a few words from you, or Erin, if the mayor had to leave already, then it's off to you.
I don't see the mayor still with us, so would be thrilled to share a few words. I think this press conference and this project is so exciting. It unites two things that I personally and that the city of Missoula is incredibly passionate about: our goals around energy conservation and climate action, and our goals around ensuring everyone in Missoula has a place to call home. So to see a project like the Cornerstone that allows us to make progress in two areas that we are so invested in as a city of Missoula, I think really presents a model for others to follow, to ensure that we're not exchanging one value for another, but that we're finding creative and unique ways as a community to tackle problems that accomplish all of our goals and that address all of our values as a community. So wholeheartedly congratulate the Housing Authority and everyone involved in making this project a success. And we're thrilled to be a part of it.
Thank you so much, Erin. We're honored to have you here today, and we are equally as honored to have Deborah Franson from Senator Tester's office, who I believe is bringing us a message from the senator. Deb, are you there?
I am, Lori. Can you hear me?
We can.
Great, thank you. This is from Senator Tester. He's sorry he can't be on the Zoom with all of you. And he says, hello, and thank you for inviting me to share a few words with you today. And thank you to the Missoula Housing Authority and your partners at Clearwater Credit Union, Climate Smart Missoula, Edgel Builders, and MMW Architects, among others, for the hard work you've done to ensure that folks in Missoula are able to keep a roof over their heads. And congratulations on completing Cornerstone Apartments, a very appropriate name, as quality affordable housing is the cornerstone in the fight against homelessness. You're taking a critical step towards addressing Missoula's need for low-cost housing, providing the most vulnerable folks in your community with a warm, safe place to call home. These 12 one-bedroom apartments will assist low-income Missoulians who are most frequently in need of emergency services, helping them to keep cool in the summer and warm throughout our harsh winters. That's why your work is so important, because strong communities prioritize helping their most in-need neighbors, and these apartments are a testament to that. You have my word that I will continue to support affordable housing programs at the national level, because it's absolutely critical that you have plenty of funding and access to programs that will help organizations like the Missoula Housing Authority continue doing what they do best, fighting homelessness and helping those in need. Thank you again for your hard work on this project. Because of you, Missoula's community is stronger than ever. Sincerely, Senator John Tester. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. I do notice that in the chat, the mayor left us a message, and I'd like to read that to you if you can take just a minute to listen to this. He says, I continue to be grateful to live in and serve a community that believes that housing is a human right, and that we have a collective responsibility to ensure that we invest in creating homes for our neighbors who will never get there without us. Thanks to MHA, Climate Smart Clearwater, and all of the partners who once again cobbled something amazing together through collaboration. Thanks to all of you for working to make lives better. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I now want to recognize Janelle Egley. She is our liaison with the state and administers our Housing Trust Fund grant. Julie Flynn is also with us here today, and so grateful for their support. As I've mentioned before, the HTF fund is the major funder here, with almost $1 million in support. So Janelle, I'll turn this over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. Well, I just want to say hello. My name is Janelle Egley, as Lori indicated. I am representing the Montana Department of Commerce today, the Community Development Division. I work with Julie Flynn there in the housing group to manage HTF as well as home and CDBG funds. The Montana Department of Commerce is proud to partner with the Missoula Housing Authority, whose efforts to strategically provide supportive services and homes to Montanans have culminated in the completion of the Cornerstone project. The state of Montana received its first Housing Trust Fund allocation in December of 2016. And this new source of federal funding comes from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, and it seeks to provide safe and decent housing to families with extremely low incomes. This grand opening is a significant milestone for not only this project, but for Montana, since it represents one of the first projects to be completed in the state, which is really, really exciting for us. And we just want to say thank you to Lori and to her team and to everybody who partnered to make this project possible. It's really exciting to see the actual building. It's beautiful, and we're thrilled to be a part of this call and to see housing opportunities extended to some of Montanans' most vulnerable populations. And so thank you to Lori and her team and to everybody who joined today. Thanks.
Thank you, Janelle. I have to say that without you holding my hand throughout the whole HTF process, I don't know how I would have made it. So I'm really grateful for your help all along the way. You and Julie both. Thank you so much. And in closing, I just want to recognize our staff at the Missoula Housing Authority who have worked tirelessly with me on this project. Sam Oliver is our project manager, and he worked closely with Edgel and with MMW throughout the construction. Jim McGrath, our director of HUD programs, Mary Melton, our asset manager, and Ellie Greenwood, who will be the property manager here, have worked for months with Anna Niles and Lisa Saroy, who are the service coordinators for the FUSE program here in Missoula. And we do expect that we will have some frequent users of our community's emergency systems who will be housed here. And in addition to those services that will be coming into the project, we have MHA's own 3 family self-sufficiency coordinators, Rebecca Stansel, Sierra Lowney, and Tamara Kindred, who will also be available to provide referrals to services for the residents here. So we have a great team. It's taken many partners and many years to put this together, and we are just thrilled to have this all coming to fruition at this moment in time for people to be housed here for the holidays. So thank you all for joining us. It's been our pleasure to see so many of you here, and we'd like to invite anyone who has questions to stay on the call. If you have questions about Climate Smart, I know that Paul and Amy would be happy to answer those. And also for Cornerstone, our staff will stay on the line, and perhaps MMW, and see if you have any questions that we can answer. So thank you again. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate your presence here with us today. And so I think if you have questions, if you could just unmute yourself and speak up, we'll do our best to coordinate that and see if we can get everybody in.
Lori, this is Heather Harp. How are you today?
Hi, Heather. Welcome.
Thanks. This was absolutely wonderful, folks. This is really, really exciting. So I'm one of your city councilors, but I also serve as the executive director for Habitat for Humanity. And one of the questions I've been trying to connect the dots around is how do we here at Habitat build homes that really are take into consideration our environmental footprint and try and do better. So along those lines, Colin Lane, the concrete, you said it's not a slab, it was a crawl space. I was wondering if you have been looking at those ICF giant foam Legos. That's what we're using here at Habitat. We've used it a few times and trying to figure out if that's the right thing or if we need to zig and go in another direction.
Great question. We have done some analysis of various insulation types, and a lot of what you see around some of the plastic-based foams are fairly impactful. But we have not looked at that question specifically. And I might turn my head towards Shane or Claire in my office to see if they have anything to add in that. But I'd be very curious to look at that specifically on somewhere down the road. We're learning a lot with some of the new tools that are out there to evaluate our impacts on carbon issues like this.
Yeah, I mean, I can maybe just add a little bit to that. You know, there is a reduction in the amount of concrete that would be used in an ICF form. So that's a net positive. But as Colin said, there is a negative in that it is a petroleum-based product that you're using as a form. But I would guess that when you looked at the overall footprint, an ICF would probably be less impactful than just pouring a solid concrete foundation wall. But it's something that we have the tools to evaluate and understand. So if you had a specific question on it, we could run a quick analysis on it for sure.
Thanks, Shane. I appreciate that. I'll reach out to you outside of this conversation.
Sounds good.
Heather, if I could just jump in real quick too. As Amy said, the Climate Smart is looking for more of these projects. So if there comes a time when you're not able to afford building it the way you like, that would be a great conversation to have with Climate Smart. We're pretty good at doing back of the envelope calculations on this stuff and seeing if it makes sense to do an offset project.
Yeah, I totally agree. When I learned about what Clearwater was able to do, it just got my mind racing. Like how many other organizations are looking for the offset? And Amy, I don't know, you might have a warehouse of information on that, but Habitat is interested. So let's connect some dots.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's great to know. And that, the trick is what we're looking to do will be to broker folks like yourself that are looking for the projects. And just to make the point, and again, on the Missoula Footprint Fund, MissoulaFootprintFund.org website, it really speaks to what an offset is and what it needs to be. It needs to have the numbers behind it. And these projects need to be true additionality, meaning that, it's not, you don't get some money for your project for something you were going to do otherwise, but it's the way to fund those things that just wouldn't have happened, like these air source heat pumps. It's a way to fund, bridge the gap to some of those projects. So, but we'll be looking for folks to help folks like Habitat, and then we're going to be looking to get the word out to business organizations and others who want to, help provide that funding and then claim that offset. So it's pairing those two for sure. We're going to need both. If we've got lots of projects and nobody that can, sort of help support financially, it's not going to work. So hopefully we'll find both and broker those along the way. And we know they're not going to be one a week, but again, we hope to start growing this program and really make it an example. You can go on the market and you can go on the web and you can buy an offset, but it doesn't stay local. It doesn't actually turn back into helping our community members. And what is so great about this, pilot project here is that it goes right back into helping some of our community members that are most in need and helping the Housing Authority. So with that, we'll happy to entertain some more questions out there that folks might have. And again, just thanks for everyone for being here. If you do need to drop off, that's just all great.
I have a quick question. This is Tessa Nato with ABC Fox Montana. And I was just wondering when people were going to start moving in.
We expect that we'll be getting tenants into the building by right around Thanksgiving. We should be doing our final punch list and getting a certificate of occupancy in the next 10 days and waiting for a couple other formalities to be taken care of. Once those are done, we're already screening some tenants, getting them ready for occupancy. We have a couple that are almost ready to go. So as soon as the building is cleared by the city and the state, we will start putting people in.
And I would add that Edgel Building got the thing done a month or so early. So hats off to them. How often does that happen?
Yeah, they are ahead of schedule.
Hey, Lori, it's Martin Kidston with the Missoula Current. First of all, congratulations. Just to follow up on that question you just answered, how will the tenants be selected who will reside here? And secondly, how would you place the overall need beyond this particular project?
I'm going to turn that question over to Jim McGrath, who's our Director of HUD Programs. I don't think he was prepared to speak, but I think he's the best one to answer that question. So, Jim.
So Martin, as has been mentioned, they're going to come through Missoula Coordinated Entry System, which is basically where we are able to identify people in need that are homeless and prioritize them based on the kinds of needs. And so that's the conduit. We're also partnering with the Fuse program, Fuse project, which is, as Lori said, folks who have been using a lot of the emergency services systems over and over again, which is very expensive for the community. They tend to be also chronically homeless, highly in need, and so on. So they will be, that's sort of how they're going to get essentially sent over to the project to apply. Then we do our regular screening process because we do have Section 8 vouchers in them, so we do some income screening and so on. So we're really looking to identify and work with the folks who are coming through that emergency system to understand what who right now in our community has those needs. As far as the overall impact, I mean, this is 12 units, as I've said in other venues. It's a drop in the bucket, but if you leave a bucket under a leaky sink, it will fill up. We need all the drops in the bucket we can get. 12 is much better than 0. So we're especially in this moment in time in Missoula where available units for anyone looking for an apartment is hard to get. There are literally hundreds in that we've identified in the system. I think over 400. So again, there's unfortunately no shortage of need, but the idea here is to pick up those who are sort of going to have the most need it the most, and also have the most significant impact on other services in Missoula, so that we can be sure and serve folks who have those needs and haven't been housed yet.
Thanks, Jim.
Lori, I have another question.
Yes.
Kind of building upon Martin's question. This being a project that's based on that housing first model, I don't know if everybody's familiar with that idea, maybe at this table, but I think that's worth just a little explanation of how Utah in particular has been leading the charge in that endeavor, and the positive outcomes, and why you have decided to kind of follow that model, and what the economic impacts of that are.
I can explain that a little bit, and I'd invite anyone else on the call who can add to it to chime in as well. The Housing First model has been around for a number of years now, and the concept is that you put people in housing first, and then you bring services to them as they wish. So for a long time, we've put people, we housed people in transitional programs or in shelters, and that can help with stabilization, but it doesn't provide them with permanent housing. So the Housing First model is a permanent housing model where people are housed and then services are brought to them. In particular, the Fuse project is a project of the Montana Healthcare Foundation, and it's statewide. It's based on models throughout the country, and it addresses the needs of people who are frequent users of a community's emergency systems, the police, the fire department, the EMTs, the emergency rooms in hospitals. And the concept there is that we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in those emergency responses. If we can get them a stable, safe home, then those needs can be addressed through other service providers on an ongoing basis. And we're not just addressing them on a crisis basis all of the time, which is very expensive. Does anyone else have Anna, maybe you have something to add to that, or anyone else? Erin, if she's still on the call?
This is Anna. Hi, everyone. I just posted a link in the chat to a brief explanation and overview of what Fuse is, just nationally known. Lori explained it perfectly, but in Missoula, it's specifically individuals who have been to the ER at least 10 times in the last year and are experiencing homelessness, and then intersect with 2 of the 6 systems that we pull data from, which include the jail, both hospitals, the police, the homeless outreach team from the Poverello Center, and the homeless management information system. So it's not referral based, it's all based on data that we gather. And if anyone had any questions, you are more than welcome to email me. I can post my email, although maybe that's a little might be asking a lot, but I will do that if people want more specifics.
And you're welcome to post your email in the chat, Anna.
Great, I will do that.
Yeah, on a very different note, I just wanted to mention, this is Amy, that the photos that you saw that went part of the little video, the tour, there were taken by Clearwater Credit Union, Erica Peterman, and we're happy to share those. You could, if you're a reporter and you want some, great images, maybe you could chat with Gwen Landquist, who's on the phone, or with Paul from Clearwater. We can make sure that you have those available. Again, we're really sorry that we weren't able to be on site given COVID, but we're happy to share images that might go along with any media stories. Thanks.
And I do want to add that something that wasn't mentioned before, that here at Cornerstone, although we don't have 24/7 services, we do have an office for service providers along with a big spacious laundry room. So that is through the door right behind me that has the window in it. So we do have a space for service providers to meet with residents that gives them privacy and is easy for them to access. Let's see. We did get in the chat. Thank you, Anna, for posting that link to an explanation of the Fuse program. Are there any other questions?
Lori, this is Heidi. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Since these are primarily going to folks who are have experienced homelessness, are these also going to be fully furnished, or?
Yes, we are going to furnish them, which does bring up a point. If anyone has donations towards furniture or window coverings, we would be happy to receive those. But in one way or another, they will be fully furnished for the tenants.
Do you have a wish list or a needs list that's available?
Everything.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Pretty much everything. Because we'll be supplying anything that we don't have donations for. So MHA will be supplying them. And we're starting from the ground up, so. Anything else? Well, I want to thank you all again for being here with us today. We are so pleased to see all of your beautiful faces, and wish that we could have done this on site, but unfortunately not to be yet, although there is hope. So please, again, don't hesitate to contact any of us if you have questions, especially those of you who might want to take advantage of Climate Smart's footprint program. It is just fabulous. So
thanks, Lori. And we had been recording this, so I will right now just put my name and my email in the chat if anybody would like to get the recording after, but I think we can probably share it amongst the partners and also have it on our MissoulaFootprintFund.org. There's a whole page just for Cornerstone Project, and I'll happy to just put the recording, not the visuals there. So if anybody showed up a little late and wants to get the beginning of this conversation, we can make that available. It's, again, been really great to have everyone here today.
So thank you all. We'll be seeing you, I'm sure, again. Have a great day and see if you can get some time off of Zoom. Bye, everybody.